Hey everybody, welcome back to Tenza Motorsports. Today we're going to be putting a catch can in our 986 Boxster. This is the MAXPEEDINGRODs catch can. You've seen this a couple times on the channel, so we're not going to be doing like a full unboxing because, like I said, we've done it a few times. If you want to see those videos, I'll have those linked up here. We've done it on 2 other vehicles at this point. This is going to be our 3rd one. MAXPEEDINGRODs has been our go-to when it comes to this kind of performance stuff. Before we buy anything like really aftermarket, we go and check with them first. And if you use the code TENZA, you can actually get 10% off your next MAXPEEDINGRODs order. Before we get started, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, like if you enjoy this type of content. Also, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Tenza_Motorsports. We do giveaways. We have been teasing recently 2 E46 M3 steering wheels. We are still doing that. One is ready to go, and I was gonna announce it in this video, but I forgot to bring it over here, and we're kind of strapped to get this project done. So yeah, make sure you're following us on Instagram, Tenza_Motorsports. Today's video is going to be difficult because this right here is just kind of physically large, but we've found a few locations in the car that we can put it. We don't want to stick it anywhere where we're going to get it venting into the cab, obviously, into the driver's space. The hardest thing about doing this project is mounting it and then running the hoses. Everything else is pretty simple. One other thing we did purchase is some Dorman. These are some bypass cap assortment. I'll have these linked in the description and the part number and everything like that, but they're basically vacuum plugs. We've got a few that we need to use in today's project where the original system, the vacuum for the original system is going to need to be plugged off. So here is the original CCV system, your crankcase ventilation, and this is the return to the block. So this goes back to the oil pan, and then this is, if I remember right, this is vacuum, and then you got bank 1 and bank 2 or vice versa. And so like I said, there's gonna be 4 locations. This one will be capped off, this one will be capped off, and then these 2 right here will go to the 2 ports on the catch can, and that's really all there is to it. So I'm gonna go over here and we're going to block off the vacuum so we don't have any vacuum leaks, the intake, and we'll get that done first. So here we are on the passenger side of the engine. It's a little bit difficult to get down in here, but you can see right there, top right of your screen, that is where it goes back into the block. That's where your crankcase would return the oil. You can see straight below us is bank 1. This is where we're gonna be pulling vapors from. Bank 2 is actually right here, that hose. And then the vacuum is this one right here. So down here, the one that goes back into the block, we'll be plugging that one. We'll be taking a razor blade and cutting this small hose off and plugging it there. And then these 2 right here will go to the catch can. We're thinking about putting the catch can right over here. If it fits there, that's great. If not, we can actually come over here to the trunk space, and it looks to be that the trunk has a seal around it, which means it doesn't get into the cab. So we might be able to put it in here. We'd rather not, but if we need to, there is space in here. With the original crankcase ventilation system, we were able to cut the bottom of it off, save this portion. That used to go right there. We cut this off, and then we put the plug on it. We'll put this back into the block return, and then we'll use this bolt right here. It'll kind of go on there like this and keep it from slipping back out. You could just put this in there, but we're worried it's gonna come back out on its own, so we're gonna do that as just kind of like an extra precaution. This was one of the harder installs we've ever done with the catch can. No knock to MAXPEEDINGRODs, this stuff's fantastic. Everything's been holding up really well. We've been abusing these connectors here, putting them on at different angles and then messing up the threads, and everything's still threaded on correctly. So what we've got here, this is a passenger side again, got the catch can all the way up against the edge here. The upper one runs over to bank 2. Technically speaking, you're supposed to replace this whole line, but that includes taking off the entire intake manifold, and we're just not ready to do that yet. So for right now, it's not a big deal. It just comes right over here. It's original path, comes up that hose, that goes into the top one. The lower hose goes right down into here. And then, I'm not sure if we're able to see it, but there is the old oil return. So we've gotten that taken care of, got it in a position where it's not going to pop out. And then here is the cap on the old vacuum. You can see it right there. As of right now, we are ready to start the car. The car has not ran for a while because we were missing a sensor. We had a bad crank position sensor. So all the crankcase ventilation stuff was right over the sensor. Sensor is just down in there, probably just out of sight of the camera. But now that we've got all this stuff out of the way, the sensor is way easier to get to. The other thing that I wanna show is that when we're ready to drain the catch can, you'll just reach your hand on the side here and you can twist it open. There is a piece of metal down there, so we'll probably just shove a rag, twist it open to pull the rag back out or something like that. So we are going to reattach some of these things that are still off, and we'll start the car. The car will not be driven tonight on camera. I do have a few other things that we want to do a video on, so I'll follow up on the ECS tuning coilovers, things like that. So if you have any comments or questions, make sure to leave them down in the comment section below. It's simple enough to do this. It's harder to actually do it. You know, it's easier said than done kind of thing. And the more and more I've learned these projects is routing and placement is harder than anything else. Nothing that we did tonight, you need to be some super special mechanic. It's just a pain to find where to run things, where you've got room, things like that. So I really appreciate everybody so much for watching. Huge thanks to MAXPEEDINGRODs, awesome stuff. Again, Tenza to get 10% off your next MAXPEEDINGRODs order, and we'll see everybody in the next video.
Bam!